Obviously they film me and I have to make this video in the morning, but this is very key. This video is about the spirit of marshaling with pure righteousness, resulting in the separation of the genders. Morality versus female sovereignty. Taking back what is taken versus the female's right to be wrong. Also, I'm not talking about abortion in this video because we have to consider the difference between living in a world that is evil, or even in their own language, live is evil backwards, versus aborting a baby when there's very little evil in the world. Okay? We must consider that. I go as far as say it is wrong to bring in a child in this world. So when we look at this thing, okay, we must look at the sun direction. The rose that grew in concrete. The rose is a symbol of secret love, of deep passion, love, and romance. Okay. So when we see this idea of the rose that grew in concrete, right, it is the idea that it was not meant to grow there, that man is self-directing. I am the last rose in this sense that grows in concrete as a symbol of true love and not as a symbol of Western misdirection. Now, when we consider this argument about females, after what I've just said, okay, we consider that speeding is illegal for a reason. So why is it right for me to say to a woman, hey, you are wrong to not listen to me, to not obey me, especially in terms of reproduction? Well, because she's on the verge of breeding with bad people and to create a bad world. That's why we have this bad world we live in. That's why there's millions of criminals in jail, and the worst criminals are outside of jail, organizing a system of trickle-down blood money and ill-gotten gains. This is a result of females not having the moral will to date the right man, and a shortage of right men, partially of decent men, partially as a consequence of that. Okay, so they've shown consistently this inability to stand firm and say, no, I won't reproduce with bad guys. Okay, if speeding is illegal, shouldn't allowing women to continue down a path that's going to breed scum and criminals be illegal? That same scale. If the law is not moral, it is unfair. What other scale for the law should there be? And this again goes to the logical assumption. The logical assumption here is the top martial artist who forges himself with a righteous indignation from a long line of righteous men, regardless if they try to smear them or not, has a better sense of what is right. To ignore this is like ignoring killing somebody for no reason being wrong. You're saying, well, you haven't defined the nature of reality. Who are you to say it's wrong? You can't prove it scientifically. Science can't prove anything definitively. They can't prove the nature of reality. They can't prove that we're all not just brains attached to some machine. Therefore, the only way to be moral is to go by the logical assumption. The logical assumption here is that I'm the top martial artist and that I've forged it with righteousness. I'm the hero that has emerged rather than the people who are complicit and silent and who are guilty for their lack of action. Like somebody who walks by someone starving and thirsty in the desert who doesn't give them a cup of water when they have plenty. They are guilty from their lack of action, their lack of addressing evil. So when we look at the degrees of homosexuality, what is homosexuality? Well, first and foremost, it is a gay energy. It is not when they try to drug me and make me sound gay and make me look gay with nerd glasses that, nerds and gays kind of look alike and there's similar mannerisms and so on. It's not that, right? Homosexuality is the acceptance of this gay energy. This can come from, now listen carefully, it might get a little blunt here. I'm going to talk about sex here. If you're not grown up, you might want to stop watching, if you can't handle it. Okay, so running a train on somebody is a form of being gay. Why? You're sharing the male sexual energy in the same place. This guy's having sex with her, and you're about to have sex with her too. When you watch a porn, and the two guys are having sex with one girl, and their dicks are rubbing together, okay? That's gay. So the guys doing it are gay, and for you to jack off and try to blank that out, it's a form of accepting homosexuality, Okay, for you to look at it and say, you, so what? Right? It's more accepting it, right? The highest form of acceptance is complicity, and there's degrees of complicity and degrees of acceptance. Okay. There's also when people circle jerk in a room, right? It's gay for a reason. It's similar to the running the train. It's also similar to, listen carefully, a battle. When you invade a town and there's people being raped everywhere and you're in the same kind of male kind of, we're forcing ourselves on women energy, right? It is a form of sharing the greater male sexual energy. Now this is different from the spirit of marshaling with pure righteousness resulting in the separation of the genders. When I convey the Spirit of God to a group of people, and then they go home and make love to their wife. This is not a gay conveyance because it is not my flesh energy. This is the Spirit of God. It's described as masculine, but it's really what empowers the man to be the head of the household, to be the martial artist who's marshaling society. Okay, it's not the same as his male earth energy, if you will. Okay, and that's the male energy when it achieves this spirit, which then I then convey. So when you're conveying anything else, it is conveying a male sex energy. This is why Zeus is said to be partially, he's bisexual. He had sex with Ganymede. You know, a lot of these deities were bisexual, hermaphroditus, right? Why is he able to emerge with this idea? It's this gay, profane idea. Homosexuality is a profane fetish. Now listen carefully. Homosexuals aren't the only ones giving into their worldly urges. Everyone having sex outside of the divine order, outside of the divine conveyance, is having basically homosexual kind of LGBT sex, right? They're doing it as they were taught in a manner that is void of spirit by other men. They learn this from pornos. They learn this from watching TV and so on and so forth. This was passed down instinctually from the earth, right? Mother Earth, okay? Mother Earth, Gaia, gay-I-A, right? It doesn't take a genius to see that G and gay is play on words for gay. Ki and G. So you look at Jeb, okay? It was an earth deity in Egypt. Gaia, gay-I-A, and G, a play on words for gay, for Ki. The earth, meaning earth, to the Sumerians. Okay, so we look at anal, oral, right? These things can be done by both men and women. This is borderline gay, if not gay. Okay, so there's various forms of gay sexual acts. So what are people really guilty of? They're guilty of entertaining this thought and giving into this thought. And this is interesting. This is where it gets even more interesting. When we consider rape, fantasies and rape, for the top martial arts, and obviously I'm not interested in any man, woman, or child, right? Obviously I've never been gay. For me to think of rape, it's really me taking back what is taken from me. It's like me thinking, hey, this guy just stole my car. I'm going to go over there and I'm going to take it back. Okay? This is not the same as somebody saying, hey, you know, I can't play the game and get this attractive woman unfairly. Or I'm too ugly and she's not naturally attracted to me, so I'm going to go rape her. That is a sin. To take back what is taken from you isn't. Okay? This is just a form of marshaling. And under the new circumstances, to do it in a way that's void of spirit, mind you, is not wrong either. The top martial artist is the blameless one. He can do what he sees fit and not be immoral. Society is supposed to obey. Given his rightful place, he's going to do the rightful thing. He can do with, the world is given to him by God. He can do with it as he sees fit. If they punish him for it, they're wrong. If they interfere, they're wrong. You know, the woman has denied him for selfish reasons, and she's on the verge of helping, if not already helping, create an immoral rape cult society. Okay? For her to then turn around and say, hey, this guy's fantasizing about raping me. She's a dumb bitch. This guy raped me. She's a dumb bitch. What are you doing? You're breeding rape cult energy. You're stealing from God. Okay? And you're not smart enough. You don't have the heart to do the right thing. So when it goes back to the sabotage hero, it is like the crippled veteran captain of a ship, the captain of the gates. Okay? Just because I'm sabotaged, right? Going back to the nurse idea, doesn't mean that the women are supposed to shun me. What kind of nurses should the average warrior have when he's crippled in battle? What kind of nurses should a king have? Because he's crippled, should they be able to refuse him for making love to him? If he doesn't have a wife, he should be able to say, hey, you nurse me and marry me. Period. Okay? Who is she to say otherwise? She's profane. She's a person on the verge of helping pirates and rapists and pedophiles. Incidentally, the person cannot then say, the person outside the divine order can't tell the gay he's wrong if they're going to insist on being wrong. It's the pot calling the kettle black. I don't care if you are the most decent person outside the divine order. You're still not decent. You're still denying God his spiritual conveyance. Okay? You can't even tell the gay that he's wrong to rape your child, because for all intents and purposes, you've raped your wife. You're taking advantage of a female who should obey Pharaoh in regards to sexual behavior and reproduction especially. Okay, you're taking advantage of her and having sex with her. You may as well be forcibly raping her. You're using the game, you're playing the game, you're running game, you stepped your game up to have the attractive woman or whatever woman it is. Okay, you may as well be holding her down and raping her. Okay, you're taking advantage of her insufficiencies, her natural insufficiencies to have sex with her. Who are you to tell other people to stop raping or stop having homosexual sex or stop being pedophiles? You're just as bad as they are. You didn't man up and accept that life outside of the divine order is not masculine. You're just as effeminate as they are. And there can be, in a sense at least, there can be no natural divine order without me raising an heir. And we'll get to that in the next video I'm going to make. All right. So when we consider the mind-altering substances that they gave me since 2011 and the aggressive stance I've taken, how I have a more logical argument than anyone in mental health has ever existed, and all of them put together. Okay? We consider the provocations, 17 witnesses. Okay? We consider the martial art challenge that shows my ability to sense reality. When we consider that they need to pay me my financial reparations, which leads to me addressing my intimacy needs in a hypergamous society. When we consider the evil big pharma agenda and all the ulterior motives of the racists, the hate groups, the false religious groups, the false social norm pushing narratives, the liars, the cheaters, the thieves, the immorals, the cultural oppression, certainly there's no logical national security argument. You're creating the national security threat, if anything. You're provoking this guy and drugging him, reducing his reservations and inhibitions when he has a more sound argument about how to treat him, and you owe him for all the wrong you've done to him. You have no logical national security argument. All you have is lies and propaganda and garbage. Not to mention the political climate we live in and the history of the political abuse of psychiatry and the stigma that is placed on people like me. On record, there's a stigma against black people in society. Everyone knows that. On record, you stigmatize people with mental illness. Everyone knows that. Ever heard the saying, you're looking at me like I'm crazy? Everyone knows that that's a stigma. You've unfairly given me this stigma when I am more moral than anyone else. I have a more logical argument as to why I'm more moral than everyone else. I have a superior interpretation of their own religions. Okay? I live in reality. You live in illusion, in a rape called illusion. Who are you to say that I'm the threat? All right. Not to mention the history of cheating the second or third generations of successful Africans. So when we consider the idea of eugenics and so on, it overkills my point. Sons and signs are connected. You have the Son of God, S-U-N. The sign. The sin is a play on words for sign. Sign, word scrambled, sign, G. Right? Sin, G, sign. What is the sign here? Sin, the moon deity, lunar, lunacy, blah, blah, blah. The sign is when you see someone who's wrong, that's a point of reference. That's a sign from God. Don't choose him. Why do these attractive women choose the bad guys when they're given an obvious sign from God? Certainly relative to the martial artist's point of reference. Direction, D, erection, and day, trace, I, on are connected. Well, certainly one can appreciate that. Certainly one can figure it out and understand why it's wrong. Even in their Bible, it says in Luke 17:3, if your brother or sister sins against you, rebuke them, and if they repent, forgive them. Repent for the rape of On. The women are helping with the mass rape of people and all the other horrible things that happen in the world. They are so wrong to not obey. They must obey immediately. Especially the attractive female gang stalkers. Thank you. And of course, anyone who claims to be religious, nuns, and so on and so forth. Thank you. And any martial arts.